All right, so we're going to continue with our example number 2. We talked about graphing yesterday, and when you're graphing, there are a couple things you do. First, you find your breaking points, right? Those are your boundaries that are your beginning and your ending of your intervals, right? After you find your boundaries and breaking points, you then are going to evaluate, plug in those endpoints, and then you're going to connect and repeat until you're done, okay? So again, just recapping of what we're supposed to be doing. Where are the steps? Didn't we write them down? Write them down. All right, so breaking points. Then we're going to evaluate. Then we're going to connect. And then we repeat until we're done. Okay? All right. So my breaking point, I start at -4. So that's a breaking point. So I'm going to go here. Put in -4. And then I go to -2. So that's a breaking point. And then -2 to 2. So there is a breaking point. Okay. And then from 2 to 4. So all of my breaking points have been put in. That part is done. Now we're at the evaluating part. When you're evaluating, you're using your bounds, your lower bound and your upper bound. So while we're doing this, we're going to pay attention. At -4, am I a closed or an open circle? I'm a closed circle. I'm a gator or crocodile, whatever your teacher called it, who had a Snicker bar. So my stomach is full. Same thing at -2. Okay, so when I substitute, a lot of this now is supposed to be mental math. If you have to write it out, please write it out. But I'm going to verbally say it out loud. Are we ready? So I'm substituting in -4. What is -4 squared? 16. What is half of 16? 8. So I'm going to go to -4, go to 8, and put a closed circle. Are you with me? Okay. Now we're going to do our upper bound. So I'm going to substitute in -2. What is -2 squared?
4.
4. What is half of 4? 2. So I go to -2 and I'm going to go to 2. And it's we already marked it. What was it? A closed circle because it's less than or equal to. Okay. To evaluate, if there's a value in between that I can evaluate, I'm going to evaluate that value in between. So between -4 and -2, what do I have? -3. So I'm going to plug in -3. What is -3 squared? 9. What is half of 9? 4.5. If you have $9 and you split it, we're each going to get 4.5. And then now we connect. Can I connect? And there's my connect. So that piece is done. So piece 1 is done. And now I'm going to repeat and do the same thing with piece number 2. Are you with me? Okay. So now we're going to do piece number 2. So for piece number 2, it's easy. -2 and 2, they're both going to be open, right? It's no equal. And it's just saying it's your x is whatever, your y is whatever your x is, right? So -2 is going to be -2, -2. So I go to -2, go down to -2, and I put an open circle. Okay, now I'm going to go to +2. +2 is just going to be +2. I go to +2, and I'm also putting a open circle because it's strictly less than, right? This is a linear equation, which means that I can just use slope to figure out what's in between to connect. If I don't have a number here, then what is my value of my slope? 1. It's Casper the Friendly One, right? So that means I'm going to rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1. And that's what's going to be where I connect. Because we all know how to graph lines, right? Okay, now we're on our last piece. So, wrong way. So piece 2 is done. Now we're on our third piece. So again, let's pay attention to our ends. At 2, am I open or close? Close. At 4, am I open or close? We all agree? Okay. Now we're going to evaluate. So 2 squared is 4 minus 4 is 0. So I'm going to go to 2 and go to 0 and put a closed circle. Okay. Now we're going to do 4. 4 squared is 16 minus 4 is 12. I don't know if it goes on yours, but mine goes off my graph a little bit. Okay. There's a value in between to help connect. So I'm going to evaluate that value. The number is 3, right? What is 3 squared? 9 minus 4 is 5. So I'm going to go to 3, 5. And then I'm going to connect to pretend that this is the best connection you've ever seen. And it's uniformed. Am I done? Yes, I've graphed all pieces of this function. So the domain of this function is where does it start and where does it end? So where do I start? Where do we start?
4.
We start at -4. And where do we end? At +4. So my domain is from -4 to 4. Does that make sense? Or it can be written that x is greater than or equal to -4, but less than or equal to +4. Correct? How do we feel about this? So it's all your graphing just in one. Make sense? Okay, this is the hardest it will get. This would be the hardest it would get. Now, I did something a little different this time. We did the hard part first. Now we're going to do the easy. Okay, so we did the hard first. Now we're going to go to page 30 and we're going to do the easy. So on your page 30, right next to it or right by it, wherever your 30 is, we're going to do a little more. Sorry. I'm going to come around with a couple graphs. They're going to be a little smaller on your page because you need 3 of them.
There's different sizes.
Yeah. So I think it's best to kind of space it out after you put your sticky notes down. You know where to draw your line.
I'm gonna verbally
Not walk. What do you say?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I might go to there.
Alright, so use these sticky notes to determine where to divide your paper bed. So you want to make sure we have 3 examples to do. What else do you
Angel. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'll be honest. I didn't know today. Not really. I already feel what is my thing, but I'm probably gonna get something there. I'm gonna go at least 3 times. You go to the third mission?
I've never been to there. That's great.
Really? Go.
Not all that, but
Yeah, all that.
I've been to the Central Texas in Austin, and I've been to the Dallas one, the State Fair, but I've never been to the Waco Fair. And yes, I know, I'm right next to it at work all the, never been.
That's just so.
The price, so
I know.
same as.
Well, that's my kids, fine.
Yeah.
Sister-in-law pays my kid. I think it's worth it. I don't know.
The Ravens gone.
I don't know.
And we didn't.
I don't know. Yeah, Yes.
All right, everyone has their 3 sticky notes.
I'm so sad, bro. I don't wanna go.
Okay, so just kind of place them. What is it, vertically down with each other, or stagger however you want, but they should be small enough where you put all 3 on one page is the goal of the smaller ones. Okay, so the title for this page is 1.3b piecewise and infinities. Remember, we already did the hard part.